So let's see what we will do today here in Heraklion on Crete. Leaving behind us the port of Heraklion, the sea water, driving south of here, about 7 kilometers south of here is the archaeological site we'll visit today. The very important archaeological site we'll visit today, which is the Palace of Knossos, the Palace of Knossos. Very important because this is the place where the very first European civilization was born. The first civilization in Europe. Started a long ago, something like 4,000 years ago. 4,000 years ago. The center was the Palace of Knossos, Minoan civilization. So we'll be there in about a quarter of an hour, and then we'll start to walk inside the archaeological site. I'm going to take you around there, talk about this palace, about this civilization, the ruins we will see. And we're going to have some orientation, some walking tour. Not that long, just to orient you. It was first inhabited when the very first people arrived on Crete. That happened a long ago. It seems that the very first people here on Crete arrived something like 7,000 years ago. Very early. They probably came from Anatolia, from the east. They came here on primitive boats. And in the very beginning, these people were living in caves on the mountains. Later on, they started to build simple stone houses. Pottery in that period was all made by hand. No wheel, so early, so all made by hand and bake it, dry it in the open fire. Tools and weapons were made of bone or stone. Stone was the main material, and that's why we call this period Stone Age period, the Neolithic period for us, Stone Age period, the end of which seems to be around the 2600 BC, before Christ, when the same people, they started to be more organized. So now they start to live together, which means small settlements here and there on Crete, and live together. 600 years later, that is around the 2000 BC, 4,000 years ago, more organized, more developed, so now they start to build palaces on Crete. I say palaces, not palace, because it isn't only the Palace of Knossos. I mean, from the very same period, the very same architecture and the very same plan, so far, 4 palaces. They have been excavated on Crete, 4, in different places here on Crete. But the very important one, the well-known one, the very big one, the mythical labyrinth, we'll talk about it, is the Palace of Knossos. That's the largest palace on Crete. It's Knossos, Phaistos, Malia and Zakros, the names of the other 3. Today is Knossos. So these palaces were built for the first time, as I said, around the 2000 BC, and 300 years later, 3 centuries later, 1700 BC, we had the first destruction. The first destruction, probably it was due to earthquakes. The volcano of Santorini, your next place. After the explosion, the eruption of the volcano. Right after, this is about 70 miles north of Crete, the distance. Right after, they rebuilt the palaces. They rebuilt the houses and start what we call Second Palace Period, which is 17 till about 1400 BC. The Second Palace Period, this is what we're going to see today. the ruins of the second palace, which was built on the top of the first one. And this was in a way the golden period of the Minoan civilization, the big Minoan period, second palace period. Around the 1400 BC, there was an end of this great period, of this great civilization. What happened? Theories. Three different theories about it. It's 4,000 years ago. We don't have all these documents to tell us what exactly was happening. So three different theories about the last destruction, the end of this great civilization. So according to the first one, it was probably once again, due to earthquakes, once again the volcano. According to the second theory, the destruction was maybe due to an invasion of the enemies of Crete from the mainland of Greece, from Peloponnese. And according to the third theory, the destruction was maybe due to a revolution, which means the enemies had already occupied the Minoan palaces, the Minoan sites. The Minoans became slaves of the enemies, and after a revolution of them became the destruction of the palaces and the end of this great period, of this great civilization. King Minos, M-I-N-O-S, the king at Knossos. And Minos was not just a simple name. Minos was something like a title for all the kings. Just like Pharaoh in Egypt. Minos the first, Minos the second, the third, a dynasty having the same name. Before the excavations, the whole area there, the whole site, it was all buried, all covered, nothing to see. Before the excavations, earth and trees and even houses. I mean, locals, people having their houses right there. So nothing to see from these old days. And the question is how they started to dig that place. It is almost the same way they start to dig an archaeological site even today, which means the locals, the people having their houses there, and having gardens outside their houses, digging the earth from time to time. It happened to find things. Sometimes pieces of clay pots, pottery. Sometimes things made of gold, rings, earrings, necklaces. So you can imagine those people digging for the onions, and then a golden ring. Wow, surprise, very fertile. So this is how they start to think about, and it was first a Greek man, somebody from Heraklion, the city, who came there in the 1878, and he started digging at the west wing of the palace where the storerooms are, storage. He found a few clay pots, of course in pieces, and then he stopped. 1878, that was too early. It was still the Turkish Ottoman occupation for Crete, so he was not able to continue his excavations. He stopped, and later, the beginning of 1900, came there the main excavator of the palace, the British Sir Arthur Evans. He was the main excavator. Beginning of the 1900s, lasted for about 30 years, all excavations, restorations, reconstructions. And what they found, which means what is the original, and I'll show you there, is the floor, lower part of the walls, and the bases of the columns. That's the original. This is what they found. All the rest has been reconstructed, has been rebuilt. Not all of it, as you will see, just a very little part has been rebuilt in a way to help us to go back in time and to imagine this great period. because the Palace of Knossos 4,000 years ago was very, very big. It was huge, actually. It covered an area of about 22,000 square meters. There were 3 and 4 stories, 3 and 4 floors, and about 13 or even 1,400 rooms. 1,400. Huge palace. It has to do with the very famous labyrinth. The size, tell you later.